who's going to be 9-8, who's going to win 10 games, who's going to go that extra mile. I think the Eagles have a strong case to make for themselves, just as the Dallas Cowboys do. So this is going to be a very important game to give somebody a leg up in this division.
The way this.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Wednesday night football 24/7 across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel with NFL insider John McMullen, all presented by Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com, use the key phrase JAKIB, get 15% off of a 1-liter bottle delivered right to your door if you're in Pennsylvania. As we bring you into our show tonight, we spend a lot of time across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, starting with Birds 365 and then going into the middle with Eitan Shander, Harry Mays, and Barrett Brooks, and then leading into the National Football Show with Dan Cilio, and then, of course, Football 24/7 nightly now during football season, and then, of course, the live post-game show, and then, of course, the live post-game show. So a lot of content is created as part of the JAKIB Media network here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. So, and when we produce that content, we get an opportunity to talk about players signing new contracts. We get an opportunity to talk about the ebb and flow of decision-making by the general managers. And that leads us into the open of our Football 24/7 tonight with NFL insider John McMullen. We here at JAKIB Media are pleased to announce a brand new contract for NFL insider John McMullen, some expanded additional responsibilities for John McMullen, a brand new digital network that we're going to begin to build during the football season with big plans for 2022. And on that introduction, John, terms of the contract are not available for those who are interested. But I do want to say, on behalf of all of our subscribers, all of our viewers, all of the many fans of John McMullen going back to or throughout your incredible history, and all of those perhaps who don't agree with you on a daily basis, I do want to take this moment to congratulate you, to welcome you, and to say to you publicly, we are extremely excited about where we're going and with our new deal. So on that, I'll give you opening remarks.
I didn't know we were going to announce it. I just hope I'm not overexposed, Krause. People could get sick of me.
Not overexposed at all, Johnny Mac. Super excited to have you leading the JAKIB Media YouTube channel and the network into a full-blown opportunity now and going forward. So on that note, welcome aboard. Now let's get back into your comfort zone where you are comfortable here on Football 24/7. I don't know how much has happened, if anything at all, since we were here last night and we did our Tuesday night edition of Football 24/7. Bring us up to speed if in fact there's anything to talk about that was different from last night.
Not much. The coordinators did speak today via Zoom virtually. Media was not at the NovaCare complex today. As I mentioned, everything kicks back a day because of Monday Night Football. Eagles, Cowboys in North Texas Monday night. So typically this would be the big practice day of the week. That's now Thursday, and everything kicks back. Obviously, practice Friday and Saturday as well. But the coordinators did speak today more about what happened against San Francisco. Not much about Dallas yet. So it's interesting because obviously that's the Eagles' biggest rival, certainly from most Eagles fans' perspective. Maybe because of the disjointed week, we haven't been down there yet. Doesn't seem like the typical Eagles Cowboys week yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
I know on the other side, John, down in Arlington, there is a lot of talk about the Eagles coming into town. Perhaps it's merely because, and I don't believe this to be true, but it's merely because it's the home opener for the Dallas Cowboys. It's their first opportunity for the 2021 season to play in Jerry's World in front of a house that'll be so full you won't be able to get another body into the building. And those bodies that don't get into the building, those 10,000 people will be sitting out in the parking lot watching the game on the big screen.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, Jody McDonald and I were talking about this on Birds 365 this morning, talking about some of the better home field advantages in the NFL. You really never hear Dallas since the opening of that gorgeous stadium, which is unbelievably beautiful, can seat 100,000 people. I think it's a little too big, to be honest. And the more intimate you can get, people talk about Seattle all the time. People talk about Kansas City, where fans, especially in Seattle, it almost goes up and people are sitting almost on top of the field. The legendary 12th man, Lincoln Financial Field, is a huge home field advantage. Since Jerry Jones has opened that stadium, the Cowboys really haven't had this huge home field advantage. And I think, to be honest, it's a little bit too big. It really is. And we'll see. I always say home field advantage. People talk about it. Well, there's a correlation usually. Seattle's had a good team for years. Kansas City obviously has a great team. The Eagles had a good team for years. You got to be good. And then maybe you can get a home field advantage. If you don't have a good football team, you're not going to have a home field advantage. And the Cowboys have just been – they haven't been bad, but they've just been sort of mediocre for a long time now. So I wouldn't be worried about the home field advantage that much if you play well, but the Eagles have to play well on top of it.
Take a look at a short body of work for the last 5 in Arlington against the Birds. The Cowboys have won. 5 of the last 7 matchups have gone to the Cowboys. So with that being said and that being stated, the Eagles come into the game on Monday night, big prime time national television game. 4-point dogs coming in. I know that doesn't really factor in to our conversation on football 24/7, but it's a reality for most people who are watching the game, enjoying the game, analyzing the game, and evaluating the game. Dallas right now has the upper hand or has the edge on this football team. We're not playing from the lead going into this game.
Look, I don't think there's any clear-cut leader in this division, more so after the first 2 games. And I don't look at any of these teams other than perhaps the New York Giants kind of falling to the back. Anybody's going to run away with this division as a whole. We've talked about this division in recent years. I think we're in that same category. I think any of the 3 teams, the Eagles, the Washington football team, Dallas Cowboys, could win the division. And a lot of that will depend, as it did last year, on attrition. The Cowboys were pretty much out of it once Dak Prescott got injured. Now, the Eagles had been healthy. They went through this whole process in the summer of resting veteran players, not playing anyone, to get to week 1 as healthy as possible. Well, week 2, the attrition started to show up in the form of Brandon Graham and Brandon Brooks. And that's what the NFL is. So a lot of it is going to be, who's going to be 9-8, who's going to win 10 games, who's going to go that extra mile. I think the Eagles have a strong case to make for themselves, just as the Dallas Cowboys do. So this is going to be a very important game to give somebody a leg up in this division.
The way the schedule plays out, and I don't have my schedule in front of me, but a majority of the division games are backloaded. They sit on the back side of the schedule. I know that they play Dallas Monday, and then they don't see Dallas until the final game of the regular season. I don't know what that means, but it's there. It's a reality. It's part of the schedule.
No, they do that on purpose. The NFL changed that a number of years ago to try to make everything as meaningful as possible down the stretch. There were teams that were not tanking seasons like the NBA, but tanking, the last few games if it meant you'd have a better draft choice. Some people argued the Eagles did that last year, and that's why they ended up with Devontae Smith. And obviously the New York Giants were very upset by that. So they backloaded the schedule with division games, with the thought process being, and correctly so, by the way, the thought process being teams are less likely to just lay down against division rivals. And I think it was a smart move by the NFL as a whole. They do that for every division, every team in this league. So the Eagles have, September 27th is Monday night, and they have Dallas. And then they don't have another divisional game until November 28th when they go to MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants. That's how long it is. So 2 months, basically, until they see another NFC East foe. Then they play the Jets. They have the back-to-back games at MetLife Stadium. Then they have a bye, and then the final 4 games, all inside the division: Washington, Giants again, Washington, Dallas, week 18. Now there's 18 weeks instead of 17 weeks. So January 9th, Dallas Cowboys will be at Lincoln Financial Field. And if it's as close as it projects to be in this division, that could mean everything.
Compensation and adjustment, Johnny Mac, heading into the game on Monday night. We know about Brandon Graham. We know about Brandon Brooks. We don't know at this point, at least I don't think so, whether or not Zach Ertz will ultimately clear COVID-19 protocol and be able to be on the 53 when we get to Monday. But if you just use those 3 players, you use the names of those 3 players, they're going to have some sort of a significant factor into the outcome of this game.
Oh, no question. That's 3 of the Eagles' best players, 3 of their veteran players. You saw Landon Dickerson struggle in his NFL debut when he had to be thrown in the deep end of the pool, so to speak, for Brandon Brooks. Now, I think he'll be a little bit better with a week to prepare, understanding he'll be at practice, understanding he'll be the starter most likely Monday night in Dallas. And then it's going to be interesting. Jonathan Gannon spoke today. How do you replace Brandon Graham? He said it's going to take more than one player. I agree with that. That's their best edge defender. He's been one of the best edge defenders in the NFL as a whole over the past number of years. Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat, I think people assume, okay, just have one of those play the other side. That's not always as easy as you think. They're both more comfortable at right defensive end. Now they would have to flip over one of them and play left defensive end. And I'm sure that's the way the Eagles will go to start it out for the majority of the snaps. But Ryan Kerrigan is going to have to help as well. And even Milton Williams, who the Eagles kind of drafted to be the heir apparent to Brandon Graham. They think he's got the same body type, same sort of skill set to be able to play outside and inside, even though, unlike BG, Brandon's natural position is defensive end and he kicks inside. Milton's natural position is defensive tackle and he kicks outside. But he'll be a part of it as well. And maybe you have to ramp up his playing time and his development a little bit quicker than you would like. But the Eagles are probably going to need him, bottom line.
Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, all presented by Stateside Vodka. Don't forget, again, to go to statesidevodka.com, use the keyword JAKIB, and save 15% on a 1-liter bottle. Offensively, John, I guess we'll start to see, as the team goes back to work, we'll start to see what head coach Nick Sirianni learned from the game against San Francisco. We'll start to understand how Jalen Hurts processed it all. And then we'll get a good look as to whether or not Jalen Hurts will throw the football over the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think it's a little bit of a mystery. We got to talk to Shane Steichen. Anybody who's watched probably Shane Steichen press conferences knows you're not going to get a lot from him. Kind of said the same thing as Nick Sirianni. It's about what the defense is giving you. But look, I mean, you can watch any NFL game. You're not going to see many where the football isn't thrown to the middle of the field at times. There's only so much you can do as far as taking away certain things. The Eagles are purposefully, clearly, through the first 2 weeks, not throwing the football in the middle of the field. There's one pass over the first 2 games between the hash marks. That's it. So, I mean, at some point, they're going to have to come to the conclusion that we got to take the training wheels off, the shrink wrap off, however you want to describe it, and see if Jalen Hurts can handle this. To me, it seems like, look, when you throw the football over the middle of the field, Krause, and you're not accurate, you're susceptible to turnovers because the ball can be tipped. It can go up in the air. There's a lot of traffic that tends to turn into interceptions. You certainly don't want to go that direction. But if you go all the way back to Jeffrey Lurie when he fired Doug Peterson, he claimed there was this disconnect. Doug Peterson wanted to go out and win games. He thought the Eagles were ready to compete. And Jeffrey Lurie said, no, we're in the transition phase. We have to figure out what we're going to do with the quarterback position. Well, if that's the case, you got to figure out what to do with the quarterback position. And if you're not going to let the quarterback do what he needs to do to prove to you that he could be the future of this team, what are we doing? What are we here for? And that to me is an interesting disconnect because Nick Sirianni is trying to win Monday night in Dallas. In theory, Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie want to figure out if Jalen Hurts is going to be the future of this team as the quarterback. How do you do that if you're protecting him, if you have the kid gloves on? I think it's an interesting conversation that's going to be had at some point if things continue to go the way they're going.
I know a couple of weeks back you sat down and did a one-on-one with Jalen Hurts, so this may or may not have even been part of your opportunity when you sat down with the quarterback. But do you think now that Jalen doesn't like the plays that are being called? Is there any way to know that answer?
No, I don't think there is. I certainly don't think he had a problem week 1 when you're successful. I did ask him after the Niners game because Nick Sirianni had mentioned he was out first after the Niners game and mentioned there's a fine line between off-schedule offense and getting the football out on time in making sure, as Doug Peterson used to say, let the offense work for you. I mentioned to Jalen that Nick said that, and he kind of raised his eyebrows. So it's just an interesting, put an asterisk next to that. you know, off-schedule offense is why the Eagles scored against the 49ers. It's basically about the 27-yard scramble that Jalen Hurts went deep into San Francisco territory. Then they finished the drive and were able to put the football in the end zone finally. You know, the on-schedule offense, the stuff you're supposed to run, that wasn't working too well. So, you know, maybe there will be a disconnect down the road. I don't think there is a disconnect right now, though. But if things go poorly, yeah, it's natural. That's when you start to have problems. Everybody's happy when you win. But if you start losing, then the problems start to crop up. And you look at the Dallas Cowboys, and they're a good offensive team, bad defensive team. The Eagles have a shot to beat them. Then you look up 2 of the next 3 weeks. They're sandwiched with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have Carolina in between those 2 games. Well, those are the 2 Super Bowl teams. Those are the 2 most high-powered offenses in the NFL. The good news is they're both here at Lincoln Financial Field. The bad news is they're probably going to score some points. So by the time they get here, the Eagles better figure out how to score some points if they want to compete with those 2 teams.
I think they're going to need to figure out how to score some points on Monday night.
Well, Dallas has very good offense as well. Their defense is susceptible to giving up a lot of points. So, you know, that's a fair point, Krause, in saying, look, we've been talking about this for a while. Can you win a 35-30 game? You might have to win a 35-30 game if you're going to beat the Cowboys.
Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. The coordinators did speak today. As you said, I don't know how much you actually get from the coordinators when they talk before the prep begins for the next game. I do think the other story here, John, is Nick Sirianni's ability to bounce back from his performance in the home opener against San Francisco. Admitted performance that wasn't that good. You know, at least that's what's out there. Now, you know what's in there. That's what's out there. Nick didn't do such a good job. As a matter of fact, I heard Brian Baldinger talking on WIP today about some of the questionable calls on that 4th and 3, even amongst the players.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the players. I don't think we've gotten to that point yet. But again, that's the kind of stuff that will crop up. I think Nick Sirianni admitted really after the game right away, he made some mistakes, and he would like to have certainly the 4th and goal back on Monday. By Monday, after he watched the film, he called it gadgety, too gadgety. He's going to put that in his back pocket. So he seems to realize he made some mistakes. You have Jalen Hurts. You know, you're second in the league in rushing. Granted, very small sample size. But the reason you're second in the league for rushing is Jalen Hurts. He's your leading rusher. He's averaging about 9 yards per carry. You're 4th and you're first in goal from the 1 yard line. You have a quarterback who can run the football. Why not let him take it in himself? I mean, the 49ers, on the other hand, they have a quarterback who isn't nearly as capable of running the football as Jalen Hurts, and they had no issues running the quarterback sneak to convert first downs. So I think Nick Sirianni will learn from that. And if you want to take advantage of Jalen Hurts' strengths, well, you should take advantage of Jalen Hurts' strengths. So, yeah, he's got to bounce back. But, I mean, anybody who thought a rookie head coach who's never done this before wasn't going to have issues with play calling at some point, they were pie in the sky. You know, they're they're down by the Gumdrop River and the Lollipop Forest. I mean, that's a fantasy, is what I'm trying to say.
Well said. Well stated by NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Last thing for John on this big night when John McMullen inks the new deal and expands his role with JAKIB Media. More on that over the next couple of days. I'm super excited to make a big announcement with John's leadership as an expansion of the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. You know, John, that I sit here on a nightly basis, and you know that I want to feel good about going into the next game, or I want to feel good about what has occurred, something that occurred in the first two games that is a super positive. And I don't know whether or not you would say, hey, it's Kenny Gainwell. I'm not sure, but what would you say? What would you point to out of the first two games that were maybe above or maybe exceeded your expectations? Listen, they're 1-1. They're not 0-2. They're 1-1, and they're going into Dallas. What was a good thing out of the first two games?
The defense. Top 5, number 2 in points allowed. Top 5 in total defense. Top 5 in third down defense. Top 5 in pass defense. I didn't see that coming. Now, not explosive offenses in Atlanta. San Francisco certainly even lesser so. But the Falcons were able to put up some points against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So they played very well defensively. More so, they played 8 quarters of football and given up 2 explosive plays. 2. They've given up a 40-yard pass to Deebo Samuel. So explosive plays are generally described as 20 or more yards passing. They've given up 1 in 8 quarters. 15 or more yards rushing, they've given up 1. 2 explosive plays in 2 bowl football games. So it's been defense. Ironically, I don't know if the city of Philadelphia notices or cares because they don't blitz and they play zone. So it's not sexy. It's not exciting, but they're getting the job done for the most part. I mean, you watch these games, Krause, you watch other games, there's explosive plays all over the place. There's offenses getting 10 in one game. They've given up 2 total in 2 games. That's stinking impressive against anybody.
Great way to wrap up the Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Right back at it tomorrow morning, Birds 365. Now, if I have everything figured out, because I completely botched everything when I closed the show yesterday. I got my Wednesday confused with my Thursday. I was ahead. I should have went back. You will not be on Birds 365 tomorrow with Jody Mack. You'll be a guest on Birds 365. Jeff Kerr will be in the chair with his new green screen and the nice Ocean screen logo sitting behind him. And you will be down at the practice facility in South Philadelphia as everything begins tomorrow in prep for Monday night.
Yeah, and COVID testing, so fingers crossed, because obviously, Zach Ertz unfortunately tested positive, and we'll see if he can get through it. It's difficult to get through it in a week unless it's a false positive. Then it's not that big of a deal because he is vaccinated. If he stays asymptomatic, it's certainly a possibility. However, if he really does have COVID, it's going to be really difficult to get cleared for that Monday night game in Dallas. So it's always iffy. I always cross my fingers when that email comes in, Joe Krause, every Wednesday. Typically, it's going to be Thursday. I get the emails every night. You always click on that link and you go, "Oh, you want to see the green light? If you see the red light, you're in trouble."
Yeah, yeah. By the way, for Zach, do they start trying to clear him tomorrow?
Well, if you're asymptomatic, all you need is 2 tests 24 hours apart. So technically, they put him on the COVID list Monday. So that means he tested positive Monday. They could have tested him again on Tuesday. They could already be deep in this process. Again, it all kind of depends if it's a false positive. If it's a false positive, it's going to be all good. He's going to be on the field. If he actually contracted COVID, it's going to be difficult in a week to get 2 clear tests with 24 hours in between. Generally, that's really difficult.
Good stuff on a Wednesday night. Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and share this video. As the border across the bottom says, John McMullen expands role with JAKIB Media and takes us in to the new year. Well done, Johnny Mac. Great stuff. And as always, nice to have you delivering the goods for all of our subscribers and also all of our viewers who, like it or not, like you or not, you continue to educate.
Too many don't.
You continue to educate and bring a good perspective to it. It's great stuff, Johnny Mac. Thank you. On behalf of the newly inked and the newly signed John McMullen, on behalf of Xander Krause, he's next. He's already knocking on my door, by the way. He's got to wait. I'm Joe Krause. See you next time, everybody.